hey, that was such an amazing amount of information and context to how we started the webinar. We're going to get into some quick tools that can help maybe think through how you're engaging your learner or who you might be engaging at the time. Big considerations over virtual learning tools. We know that there's a lot out there. Some of them are free, but we really want you to think at your levels and during your roles to think about what tools is your district and state already approving. Again, we'll go back to consistency. We go back to this idea of not working smart, not hard, making sure that we are tapping into people's already user experience. Again, maybe thinking about the primary components of the platform. What are you trying to do? What's the objective of this? And we're going to highlight a few different details in the platform, but again, these are just considerations for yourself to think about. Again, how does the resource itself map onto what you're trying to do with the curriculum? Again, how does it help, facilitation, sound constructs, group discussions, breakouts, and then also that individual recheck. Let's talk about a little bit of this idea of how it, again, eases the use of instruction for staff and students, right? It's everybody. So we go back to that first bullet and making sure that we are creating those feedback loops, as we mentioned, not only about how we're doing, but how we're working through these platforms. We're also looking, again, the cost obviously is always a consideration. There's a lot of free up to a limit. So we want to make sure that we pay attention to those details. We also want to make sure that as we're engaging our stakeholders, we're also paying attention to, again, cost of their data rates, right? So it's been one of the things that we want to think about in equity and make sure that we are not leveraging a platform that we assume is not costing anything, but might be costing the user something. Again, Wi-Fi access and ease of use. Again, in general, learning curve around the technology. Always a big thing because, again, we always want to tap that we are mandated reporters. Some folks have broader regulations to the type of conversations that you might be leveraging in this social emotional space. So you want to pay attention to compliance with HIPAA or FERPA, obviously different concepts around encryption and privacy, and organizationally to really think about if you want to get in front of some young people, do you have consent to get in front of young people? How can you leverage that consent so you can keep these ongoing relationships? And then always those last two are huge. This idea around just capacity of the virtual meeting. How many people are you inviting, right? Is it going to be huge? Is it going to be intimate? And ideas of how are you storing this information just in case people can't be there. So really high-level overviews of some platforms that we know are tried and tested. Some of them that you might have some existing experience with, but you're using them in completely different ways and just kind of watching, right? We're using them for happy hour. We're using them for instruction. We might be using them for processing and communities of practices. So we got YouTube. We know that one. We see that one all the time. It does allow for video sharing and whatnot. Google Classroom. Young people are using that. It is free. It can help with alignment of what the school is using and what you might want to think about reinforcing those supports. Zoom is a hot topic. And then we have other ones like Facebook groups that some people are using. And if you are in a very structured level, you could think of Blackboard, which again has fees related to it. So we wanted to make sure to give you some key points, but always this idea that you want to make sure that you can sustain the practice by making sure you're looking at the details of the platform. Again, now for messaging, if you want to try to engage, some folks are using Class Dojo. There's always Facebook Messenger. There's Bloom. There's different ways of collecting and kids' work. So through their own projects, something like Kid Blog. Some folks, there's a free platform like WhatsApp, because we know that some communities have that. And then Remind, which is a great way of, again, thinking through those rituals and making sure we can help our young people stay on track, regardless of what you're engaging them, either their academic lessons or any of the related social, emotional development pieces that we're pushing them to engage in. And then if you are pushing more of a collaborative planning, because I know we have different roles, so all of us who want to really still roll up our virtual sleeves and get into the planning aspect. So then when we're going to be implementing any of our strategies, we obviously have GoToMeeting, which is again a fee-based, but it is very well structured. We have Adobe Connect, which is again a very tried and tested. It has a current free 90-day component if people want to maybe take a look at that. We also have Microsoft Teams, which is actually currently free to schools. We want to try to leverage all of those current and emerging assets that we know exist, because that is also a very well put together platform. And we also have Google Hangouts, just in case, again, we're leveraging what young people already are doing or what the school might be leveraging, and we want to make sure we are tapping into that to not confuse or complicate this transition any more than necessary.